Hey everybody, welcome to the Adventist Hoops podcast. I'm joined today by Tyler Wooldridge. He's the athletic director and men's coach at Southwestern Adventist University in Texas. Tyler, welcome to the Adventist Hoops podcast.
Thanks for having me. I know it's been a long time coming, so I'm glad that we could hang
Tyler
today.
kept asking every week, hey, when can I get on the podcast? No, I'm just kidding. But he's a busy man, so we were trying to get him on, and now that the season is over, we're lucky to have you here. Tyler, for those that don't know you, and I'm curious to learn a little bit more about your basketball journey, what has led you through your life? What's your basketball journey that has led you to this point that you're the head men's coach and the athletic director at Southwestern?
Sure. So it started with playing. Fourth grade was the first time playing organized basketball out in Bakersfield, California. That's where I was born and raised.
Now,
Ended up
real
playing.
quick, is Bakersfield in Southern California or Northern California? Where is Bakersfield for people that don't know?
We're central. Yeah, we're smack dab in the middle. So
Okay.
about 2 hours north of LA and a ways away from you up in Northern
I
California.
just
But we
wanted to
claim
clarify
central.
that because a lot of people in Northern California, a lot of Southern California people, they just believe that everything north of the mountains is outside of Southern California. Some people in Central California feel like they're part of Southern California or Northern. So I just wanted to see
I think
where
we
your
got to claim
roots, where you felt
central.
your roots are.
We got to claim central because once you go
Okay,
south through the grapevine, I think it looks a lot different as well. So,
true.
yeah.
Sorry, just had to clarify that.
No, yeah, so was playing there and then ended up going to Bakersfield Adventist Academy. Graduated there and started my collegiate career at Andrews University. So played basketball there and then ended up transferring to Southwestern. Graduated here, also played here, and then started working in the enrollment office. And then that transitioned into coaching and also taking the position of AD.
What was your position normally?
In basketball.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah, I played the
basketball.
point. Yeah,
Point. Okay.
yeah.
And so you played, did you say you played 2 years at Andrews and two at Southwestern?
So I actually played all four. So it was 5 years to graduate. So I played all four, and then I played 1 year at Southwestern. So I got a 5 year career because Southwestern was club. So I had my 4 years of eligibility finished, but played 1 year of club ball here.
Interesting. Okay. And what year was that? That because when I was in college, I'm a little bit older than you. I always kind of heard like, oh, Southwestern has a great program. I feel like it was one of the first colleges that had intercollegiate sports. And so what was kind of the journey there to it being club and then eventually coming back into some athletic associations?
Yeah. So it outdates me, but Southwestern was NAI at one point.
Mm.
Uh, Not sure exactly what happened, but they cut the program and then we're club for a few years. James Tay, our vice president here, I think you've connected with him at some point. He kind of started it back up as a club team, and then we ended up joining the USCAA, and then followed by that, we joined the NCCAA, and I was a part of those additions to our program. So years ago, they were competing at the NAIA level, but that little hiatus that they took, kind of changed things a bit. But we're back in two conferences now and trying to continue to build.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So, when you're playing, you said you're part of the USCAA and the NCCAA. Do you play conference games against both of those schools? And both of those are a lot of those schools members of both associations? How does that work?
No, there's not many. So I would call the NCCAA our main conference because we have many schools around us that are affiliated with the NCCAA. So we have a region tournament or conference tournament with 7 other schools that gives you an opportunity for an automatic bid to the national tournament. The USCAA is predominantly East Coast based. There's not a lot of schools around us as a part of that conference. And so they essentially just take the top 10 in the country for their national tournament. They handpick based on resume.
Got it. Okay. Back to your story. When did you first know that you wanted to coach? What drew you to coaching?
Probably as a player. So my dad coached me in high school. He was an assistant coach, and then the head coach there would kind of always throw that out there that, hey, you'd be a good head coach someday. So that's kind of when I started thinking about it. And I always knew that I wanted to stay around athletics. I didn't know what that would look like. Um, but then when the opportunity presented itself here, I took it, and I knew right away that it was something that I'd want to continue to do, something that I enjoy.
And so how many years have you been at Southwestern now?
Just finished year 8.
Wow. And have you been the head coach the whole time there?
So I actually, the one year I was here, I assisted and played.
Yeah.
So I would sit on the bench of the girls' games, and then when I needed to get to the locker room, go to the locker room, get ready for the games. Then the year after that, I assisted both programs again for one year. And then the following year, I took over as the head coach, and I was the head coach for both the men and the women's program for 2 years.
What is it like trying to coach two collegiate teams at the same time?
It's crazy, man. We would do practices 6 to 8, and then 8 to 10, or sometimes 7 to 9, then 9 to 11. And then game days, as you can imagine, are hectic because, pregame speech with the girls, halftime speech with the girls, postgame speech. Then you really don't have time that you want to get the guys ready. They're already running on the floor when that 20-minute ticker starts. Um, Meet with them briefly and then do the same thing over again. So just kind of flipping your mindset from going from girls to guys, the amount of time that it takes for practices and game days was hectic. I learned a lot, but it's something that I wouldn't want to do again, especially at this
Yeah.
level.
Mm. I coached JV boys and middle school boys in the same year, and that was a lot. So I can't imagine trying to do a collegiate program and have all that be on you. There's some aspect, I think a good coach like has some sort of spiritual, and I don't even necessarily mean religious, but it often manifests itself in a religious way, I think, for a lot of Adventist coaches. But there is like the spirit of the team and the psyche of the team and the culture that you're cultivating. And I found that year that it was hard. It was hard to do that. It was hard to like really be able to bring this group of people on a journey from the start, maybe in the fall, all the way through and like be able to actually like connect. I don't know. Was that something you found as well?
Yeah, like not being able to fully connect because you're pulled in both directions. Yeah. When you're with one, you're not with the other, and so you don't truly spend the time that you need to with a team as a head coach when you're doing both. And so, yeah, that's certainly an aspect that gets affected.
I bring this up. I mean, I hone in on this just because, it's not the first time that that has happened. It's not the last time. It's been the case at Adventist colleges, in the past and also currently. So just wanting to like reiterate, it's not ideal in any sense of what it means to be a collegiate basketball coach. So,
Agree 100%.
okay, so you guys are USCAA. You don't play that many games. USCAA, NCCAA, which stands for National Christian College Athletic Association.
Yep. National Christian Collegiate Athletic Association.
Okay, and over those 8 years, has that been something that you have enjoyed? Or you feel like it's a good fit for your program?
I love it. I love our member schools. I think it's the perfect level for us right now. We are the only Adventist member currently. I know Union, actually, I should say Union, just joined this year as well. And I think Andrews is considering that jump as well.
We're recording this May 2024. So are you saying they were a member this past season or this next season? They're
Next season they will be. Sorry,
okay.
Drew, if there was going to be an official announcement, but Union just officially joined, and so we're excited to have them as well. They
That's
won't be in the region, but they are going to be a member.
that's great. Yeah, he had mentioned that a while back that they were trying to get in. So that's great. Speaking of Union, you guys traveled for hours and days, however long it took you to get from Texas up to Lincoln, Nebraska this past February, right? Was it February? January?
January, yeah, Martin Luther King.
January. And you guys competed against Andrews University and Union College, soon to be Union Adventist University, but you have to be proud of the way you guys competed in that tournament, winning both games.
Yeah, well, first off, you talked about the travel. We were going 30 miles an hour for the last 2.5 hours. We got a little bit of snow right as we got into Nebraska, but it was a fun trip. And yeah, from a basketball standpoint, second semester was a lot better for us. So that's when we really started to click, I think, started competing more consistently. So we were able to get a couple wins up there. So yeah, it was a good trip.
What do you enjoy about being in that environment? I mean, you being an Adventist yourself, I assume you went to some Adventist Academy tournaments growing up. What does it mean for you to be able to participate and kind of facilitate that experience for your college athletes?
It's cool because it's different. We always talk about the fellowship aspect. When you walk in the gym at these types of environments, um, it's not staring down the opponent or it's just, I wouldn't say that it's not cutthroat, but you're there to play ball and you're also there to fellowship and there's a more friendly environment. So I think that takes the pressure off. I think it makes it for a more fun experience for the athletes. So now being on the other side, yeah, I enjoy helping facilitate that for them.
I think that's the ultimate expression of, competition is being able to uh, try to kill the other team within the lines during a game, and then right afterwards, like you hug it out, get to know everyone else. You see that a lot in the NBA now, where you didn't used to see it. I'm reading a book right now called "When the Game Was War," and it was about kind of this author's take on the what he thinks is the greatest NBA season ever in the 80s. But and those people really hated each other. But I feel like it's different now. There's a lot of people that play club basketball with kids, growing up, and then they are able to, support them going forward in college, and there's no reason why you can't. I think that you can't have great relationships with people and also try to destroy them on the court. I mean, that's it's just a game, right? So yeah, try to dominate and then fellowship afterwards. I don't know if that makes sense to a lot of people. I think it will for our community, but that might sound a little bit extreme to people that aren't familiar with basketball.
Some may think it's soft. I don't know, but like you said, if I think competitors are able to not change anything about the game, no matter who's in front of them, and then afterwards also let it go.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I have a question for you. Every year you guys play University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, Division One school. Why do you do that? Why do you do that to yourself?
Well, for a couple of reasons. We are a small college, so fundraising is something that we have to do throughout the year. And these are called guarantee games or paid games. And so there is compensation from the school that you're playing back to your program, which helps us throughout the rest of the year. In addition to that, I think it's a great experience. Our guys like being D1 for the night. You get to be in a D1 gym. You get to get all the treatment from the trainers and the medical staff and whatever else. You get to play in front of more people, play against guys that could play professionally, guys that you may already know of as a player. And so for us, yeah, I think it's something that the players like. I think it can be something that helps recruitment when you're able to play against the highest level. And then also we got to fundraise. So those are the main reasons why we take those games.
And those games can be really tough. I mean, really, really hard. I think what is best about those games is it shows you who you have and it shows you the character of the guys because you're not going in necessarily, thinking, "Hey, we're gonna win this game." I mean, I think a lot of I go into every game thinking that as a player, but at the same time, like you're also looking not just to score more points than the other team in this game, but how are you going to respond? Are you going to wilt away? Are you going to melt? Or are you going to fight? And you can tell a lot about players by how they respond in these types of games.
Yeah, how do you respond when it's a 30-point game and that third media timeout?
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely been there. But like I said, we enjoy the experience. And for the players, it's, how do you stack up against bigger, faster, stronger? So it's a good test, especially early in the year. So,
And to put yourself through something like that, people kind of wonder. You don't need to say how much you guys are guaranteed to be compensated in these kinds of games, but it's fair to say it's like pretty significant a significant chunk of change, right? For a program of our school's size usually, right? It's
Absolutely.
well worth it, right?
Yeah, or we wouldn't take it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
nobody likes getting beat up on. So yeah,
right.
it has to make sense for us. And there's negotiations that take place. And if it doesn't make sense, then typically it doesn't get on our schedule. And I've learned that over the years. At first it was just, hey, I'll take it. And now it's you got to know what you can get and how to negotiate. And yeah.
I'm interested to hear what you negotiate about.
Price, I mean, the amount of money. Some schools include post-game meals, hotels. It just depends on kind of how the trip looks. But typically there's going to be money, meals, and hotels involved, especially with a trip like that, because that's, a 7-hour drive for us down to Edinburgh.
Mm. Uh, you know, you talk about kids wanting to potentially play in a program that gets to go up against a Division I school, and in thinking about your recruiting and the prospects that you've looked at over the years, um, what what do you feel like are some of the deficiencies of our Adventist Academy kids that are playing basketball in this era that prevents them from making it to the next level?
I think it can be a number of things. Obviously, we live in a time where the highlight tape is number one, which at the same time can mean it's all about me, and sometimes that can reflect on the way that the kids play. I think that a lot of kids don't realize that college coaches, I'll speak for myself, we really don't care about what's in your bag. Um, it's more so about, can you fit into a team? Can you play a role? Can you make winning plays? So I think that's one element of it. Some of our academies, this, there's guys or girls coaching who are pulled in 8 different directions. So sometimes it's, hey, we need the Bible teacher to also coach basketball, and maybe that's something that is new to them, and that can also hurt development as well. So those are a couple things.
What would your suggestions be to a kid who, is interested in playing at Southwestern, interested in playing in college, um, and you look at them and you can see that they have the baseline, they have the like a foundation to be able to get to that level, but maybe don't aren't putting a lot of effort in.
Yeah, you have to put in effort if you're going to play at the next level. And so with what I just said, number one, you got to market yourself so that we know who you are. You gotta let us know who you are and how you play. I think getting a campus visit as quickly as possible is important for recruits, because that helps both of us, realize if this is going to be a good fit, because hoops is just one part of it. So that's going to allow you to see the rest of campus and see if you could truly be here. Um, yeah, and if there's potential there, but no effort, I mean, it's just on us as coaches to see if we're confident in developing those kids. I've been there many times where um, you take on some projects and you realize that probably by year 2 or 3 you're gonna be able to get something out of them. So but if the effort's lacking, that's gonna be tough for coaches to recruit you, I would say.
Yeah, and I guess I say, maybe they're not putting forth the effort, maybe because they just don't realize how much needs to be put into it. Um, and I think a lot of our Adventist Academy athletes maybe show up at the start of the season and they start, practicing and playing, and then when the season's over, they kind of move on to the next thing. Maybe because the school's not big enough and they have to really focus in on another sport, and but they maybe just don't realize how much it really is going to take to get them to the next level. What are you seeing from freshmen when they come in as far as their biggest deficiency?
Um, Obviously depends on the kid. I think a lot of the freshmen that we have um, or that we've gotten into our program, there's been probably less skill development in their practice plans in high school and more conditioning. We see a lot of that where we're actually doing less running in our practices and more skill development. And so, across the board, it can be ball handling, shooting, fundamental things really. So it depends on the player, but I think that the skill portion in practice, we split, guards and bigs up and work on positional things for a portion of practice. And I think that's new for a lot of them.
I really struggled with this over my coaching career because I would come in to a new season, see the personnel that we had, and be like, man, we got to really improve our skills across the board to be able to just do basic things. Well, after years of doing that, and to the detriment maybe of our team's system or, just team concepts, I guess, I've now kind of come full circle to, hey, your personal development is something that has to take place outside. Now, of course, we work on shooting, we work on the fundamental skills during the season, of course, but it's more a focus on the team stuff, whether it's our offensive sets or defensive strategy, situational stuff. Just because does one kid really have to be able to dribble with a left hand all the way down the floor to be able to be successful for our team? No, he doesn't. So I think practicality has made me look at that different. And then you're talking about kids maybe needing to put in a lot of extra effort on their own outside of their team. I don't know what you think about all that. I said a lot, but
I agree that it should be that way. I've told kids before, like, hey, if you don't have a left hand, when we start practicing, this is about us. I got to focus on the team. That's something that you need to develop outside. At the same time, some of the skill work that we do is things that transition into what we do. So, whether it's guards coming off of ball screens and into pull-ups, or how to lift, how to drift, you're getting up shots, but there's also team concepts involved. So yeah, I agree that players should be developing their skills on their own, and that when you got those 2 hours as a coach, it should be mainly focused on the team. But if you are going to do the skill work, it certainly needs to be something that's going to translate to what you do, to what your
yeah,
team does.
yeah. What do you enjoy? Southwestern's been your only head coaching job, I assume. Yeah. What do you enjoy about coaching at Southwestern?
Well, first, I like the people I work with. If you don't like your boss, I think your job's going to be pretty tough. So Dean Tay, or James Tay, is our vice president for student services, and he's somebody that I enjoy working with hand in hand to try to build this program up. And then it's just, love of the game, like the kids that we have on our campus and that we've been able to bring in, and just want to create the best experience for them and want to continue to build it. So it's just something I enjoy, and I'm hoping that we can get this program to another level here in the next couple of years. So yeah, I've enjoyed it so far.
What did you see from your team over this past season that you want specifically that you want to get better at?
Um, we struggled in a few areas. I'd like to get some more perimeter shooting. We got to be better there. I think that our spacing at times was something that really hurt us. And then, being able to guard is a prerequisite for me. And I don't think that we defended all season. There was times where we defended really well and had success, and there were times where we didn't care much about it. And so just being consistent in those areas, I think would be big for us.
Mm. Who are one or two people on your roster that people should know their name?
Ephraim Viadex is going to be going into his 5th year. He's going to use the COVID year. And he's been a big player for our program and helped build it up over the last 4 years. Jason Garcia has been another good player for us. 2 lefty guards.
That reminded me, are you only recruiting left-handed players?
I don't know what's going on with that. I didn't realize this many lefties existed. There was a time last year I could have put 5 on the floor.
Yeah, it stuck out to me. I mean, I watched some of your games, and I'm like, boy, you guys have a lot of left-handed players. I mean, did that, there's some defenses that might force left or whatever. I don't know if you see it out at all, but has that ever come up in a game, just like the oddity of having mostly left-handed I'm kind of over exaggerating, but I mean, usually there's a couple lefties on the court for you, right?
For sure. Yeah, and
Yeah,
like those two guys that I just mentioned started and played 30 plus minutes. So those guys are on the floor a
yeah.
lot. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I think I've had three out there. That's been the most at one time. And I didn't necessarily notice schematically them try to do anything
Yeah.
different other than yell and take away their left hand. Yeah, I didn't see too
Well,
much.
that's got to be a goal for you next year. Get all five lefties in. I mean, how often does that happen? That doesn't happen very often.
I think now I got to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. We'll be looking forward to that, and I'll post the highlight.
Might be five guards. We may do it for 30 seconds, but I'll do it.
Yeah, just for Adventist hoops. Just get that in. We'll tell your amazing announcer, hey, this next play that Tyler has drawn up is for Adventist hoops. We're getting all left-handed players on the court for one highlight.
There you go.
I do got to ask about your announcer on the live stream broadcast. I forget his name at the moment, but I looked him up. I mean, he's a pro. He's a pro that is broadcasting your games, which I think is a huge. I don't think there's any Adventist basketball program this year, at least, that had an actual broadcaster that was calling the games, and I thought that was a really great thing to have. I mean, as far as like a professionalism of a program, that adds a lot.
Yeah, I think it was big for us. His name is Chris Sheeman, and I actually stole him from another program. Champion Christian College I shouldn't say stole him. He was working at Champion Christian College, who was also in the NCCAA, and that's where I first heard him and thought that he did good work and reached out. And, we offered him to do all of our sports. So he does soccer, volleyball,
Oh,
and
great.
for us. So yeah, I think it's big for our program, and it's good for our parents at home who watch and all those who tune in. So I think it adds another level for us.
And it looks like he does it from home, so it's sort of a remote thing that he does. So theoretically, that's something that some of our other schools could contract with him, I suppose, if they get the right setup. I'm assuming there was some sort of tech setup that had to be configured first, or does he just tap into what you guys already had in there?
I think he just taps in. I mean, when he starts talking with our IT department, it's gibberish to me, but they figured it all out to start. And yeah, he's able to broadcast from home.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Okay, I want to talk about the Hoops Classic. I've talked to a couple different people about it on the podcast, but you are heavily involved, and I know that Dean Tay is like kind of oversees the whole thing, but you are very integral to pulling it off every year. What was your first introduction to the Hoops Classic? Did you know much about it in high school? And what was your first, I guess it was when you were a student there playing that you probably saw it first, huh?
So actually, we came out in 2009 with Bakersfield.
Okay.
So yeah, we played and we finished third. We lost to Greater Atlanta Adventist Academy, and then Forest Lake Academy ended up winning it that year. But yeah, that was the first introduction because in Bakersfield we had attended the Fresno tournament, Modesto, and then PUC, and then we decided that year to go to Texas, and it was like, wow, this is different. It's bigger. So yeah, that was my first introduction, and then been working the tournament now for these 8 years that I've been working at Southwestern.
What's it like to put on a tournament of this size for people that have no idea?
There's a lot behind the scenes that people probably don't realize, and like I said, and you mentioned, Dean Tay does a lot of that, and I'm involved as well. But just from the scheduling, um, renting the different facilities, trying to facilitate the ability to let this guy's team watch their girls' team and vice versa. There's a lot just to get it started, and then throughout, obviously, there's fires that need to be put out, and so it's definitely a busy week, but it's also a lot of fun.
And just to give people an idea of the scale, I mean, this is our largest Adventist Academy tournament. How many courts do you have going concurrently on any given day?
So we got
Because
two
you
at
got
South,
two in your main gym, right?
then we use CTA, we use Keene Adventist Elementary, um, and we use the gym in Burleson. So you can have 6 courts at one time.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, and even like Walla Walla, they'll have a couple courts going in their main gym. Wava Academy there, Walla Valley Academy, they have their gym. Maybe the elementary school. I know Union's had multiple sites in the past, but it's definitely the largest at Southwestern there. How many schools on average are there, or even teams, if you want to break it down that way?
So I think this last year we had 48 teams, and I think we've gotten above the 50 mark in the past. So
Wow.
yeah, you're going to be anywhere from 45 to 52 teams.
Do you know the history? I mean, I'd love to talk to Dean Tay as well, but I mean, how it started, and I'm just wondering, was it one of the first Adventist Academy tournaments? Is that why it is so, maybe it's more established, so a lot of these teams are coming? Is it the central location? I mean, what is it that makes this so big?
I'm not sure about the history. We may have to plug Dean in. I know we've done 20 something years of the tournament. And so I'm not sure when it started, if it was this big or if it's just scaled up over time. But yeah, with where we're at now, it's yeah, it's a big tournament.
I like to, talk about having an elite Adventist Academy tournament where the top teams are all invited to come and play in a tournament. As of now, Southwestern Hoops Classic is the best that we have as far as an elite tournament, I would say. And I haven't been to it, but I've seen a lot of video and a lot of people talking and just comparing stories. It seems like that's probably kind of the pinnacle of, if you feel you're one of the best teams, you got to prove it at Southwestern.
Yeah, I agree. The teams that we get here, the talent, I mean, you got Division I kids on some of these academies, and I think we do a good job of getting the best academies from across the country. There's probably a few that we still need to get in here to make sure that we have them all, but yeah, I think that we get the most high level talent. And that's what helps make this, one of the best tournaments.
How do you view that as a recruiter? I mean, you're trying to put on this huge tournament, but you're also trying to make connections with prospects, right?
For sure. Yeah, trying to get kids after games, see if we can get them in the office for 5 minutes and chat, talk to coaches. And so definitely it's a big opportunity for us to recruit and see if, kids would be a good fit for our program. Some of the kids, we talked about the talent. Some of the kids, it's not even worth talking to be honest with you, just because of the looks that they have. Um, yeah.
I know what you mean. I have just seen over the years that we've had too many Adventist kids that were never invited. They were never. I'm not commenting on you at all, and I totally understand what you're saying. But I've heard that from many different coaches, and I actually disagree, even if it's from the point of just the narrative that well, Adventist colleges aren't recruiting. I'm not saying that you're not recruiting. I know you are. Um, it happened to me. It happened to me in high school. There was schools that didn't, our Adventist schools that didn't even talk to me, and because of what you said. Um, and if we're able to, as colleges, be able to show, hey, we really want you, or how else are we going to get some of the high level talent that we're always talking about? Hey, we got to be able to compete at a higher level. Well, if the kids aren't feeling like that, and I know that finances is some of it. Hey, you get a full ride somewhere, you're maybe going to go take the full ride. I mean, that makes sense. But I do just wish that there would be an abundance of Adventist colleges, reaching out, making offers, even if it's probably not going to happen. You never know. And sometimes I think the changing that stereotype of the high level players like not being recruited at all by Adventist colleges, it just sends a message to all, maybe the second level tier of Adventist players,
Yeah. So I should rephrase. I should say, in my experience, talking to some of these kids, it's been tough just because of the things that you mentioned, finances, or hey, I have this look. But I totally agree that we should still communicate with those kids, show them some love, and let them know that we'd love to have them on our campus, even if it doesn't work out. And so, yeah, make no mistake about it. When Tony Bryant's on our campus again, you know, there'll be an attempt, but kids like that, it may be tough if they have their sights set on playing at the highest level.
He's talking about North Tampa Christian Academy's Tony Bryant, 6'10". I mean, I don't know if you remember, I posted, I'm trying to remember what, he was ranked like the 37th best player in the nation for class of 2026 here in the last couple weeks. When was he on your campus?
They didn't come this year. The year before, he was
Okay.
on.
How
Yeah.
did they
So
do last year? Because that
um,
was the big question. Everybody was like, well, North Tampa's not there this year, so we're
how they're-
curious how they would have stacked up.
I think they would have stacked up fine and had a chance to win it. I don't know how their season ended, but they're talented. And our championship was San Gabriel and Tacoma, and those are two really good teams. But North Tampa definitely would have been in the mix for sure.
Yeah, they did win their district. Can't remember if it's called a district in Florida that's different with the different regions, but yeah, they won that. Did you see they got the invite to play IMG Academy this
I
next
heard
year?
that's going to be on the schedule, right? For sure.
Yep, yep.
That's big.
Yes, and later today I'm going to be talking to their AD, Seth Fogg. So it'll be in a subsequent episode just about how, well, this is great, a little marketing within the podcast for the next one, but just how they created a program that is allowed them to have such a successful run here, both the girls and the boys team. What suggestions, what wisdom, now that you've been at the collegiate level for 8 years now, do you have for high school athletic directors, for our Adventist academies, to set them up for more success as they're? I, I guess I'll insert my own commentary. I don't know that there's a lot of our academies that are intentionally building a program. You know, we offer these sports, but there's a difference between building a program and just rolling the ball out and playing.
Yeah. Well, I think to have a program where kids want to be a part of it, you have to, I think, be a part of a league and give them opportunities to compete against good competition. I think that's the biggest thing. I think there's a lot of academies who simply play in our fellowship tournaments and that's it. There's no summer leagues with public schools. There's no exposure of the program. They're not officially in a league. And so I think that'd be one of the biggest things, just to get exposure for your program. And then I think you'll have kids that want to be a part of that, Adventist and non-Adventist, and then you can start to build from there. And I think North Tampa is an example of that. And there's been some others as well. I think you guys are still Sacramento, still doing the CIF deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Our girls
Those things are,
won. What's that?
I think those things are important.
Yeah, yeah. Our girls won the won our section this year, which was a huge accomplishment. So we were proud of that. Um, yeah, I think that there are certain Adventist communities that it's, yeah, obviously it's not a huge priority for them to build a successful basketball program. And I also wonder if there is any hesitation just because of tradition and if we're going outside the Adventist system for all of our competition, maybe it seems scary. Maybe it seems like they're abandoning the Adventist faith that they have. What what would you say to that? If there's a community, maybe a school board that is considering, it's been brought to them, hey, we want to go and participate in our state interscholastic association, but there's hesitation because of some of those factors that I mentioned.
I think a goal of all of our Adventist programs should be to use your program as a ministry. And what better way if you're not getting out there and showing people who you are, I think you're losing some of the ability to do that. And so I don't think that should be a fear of any of our schools. One of our uniforms says Adventist across the chest, and I think just us going and playing UTRGV or whoever these other bigger schools are, I think that's a ministry in itself. And then the way that your kids carry themselves. So I think all programs should try to um, expand and use their program as a ministry to whoever.
What do you think about? I assume there's some non-Adventist kids on your team. Um, and I think there has been on most of our Adventist college teams for decades. And I'm sure on every Adventist Academy team, there's probably one or two kids that maybe didn't grow up Adventist. Maybe they're just attending the school. Is there a difference between that and recruiting a team at the high school or college level of the best players available, regardless if they're Adventist or not. Because
Sorry, I'm
I've struggled with that, you know, because there are some schools that are there's really no Adventist, what we would consider Adventist kids. They didn't grow up. They didn't go to Sabbath school. They don't go to church on Sabbath. I'm talking about academy kids, um, but they are a student. They're definitely a student at this Adventist school, and so they're playing and representing the school on the team.
Are you saying should we recruit those kids?
I don't think it's a question of recruiting individual players, but it, there is this trend of fielding an entire team with no Adventist players at all.
I'm sorry, I missed the
I
exact.
think there's some people that have an issue with certain
Oh,
schools that are putting out teams that have no Adventists on them and question like, why are we having Adventist athletics if there's no Seventh-day Adventist kids that are getting an opportunity to play? Like, why did we start these athletic programs in the first place? That kind of a angle.
yeah, I think if you're not recruiting at our Adventist academies at all, I think that would be a problem. But if we're going to have intercollegiate athletics, we're going to try to be as successful as possible, and you got to find players and kids that fit your program, whether that's an Adventist kid or a non-Adventist kid. And I think that you have certain standards within your program that you hold everyone to. And again, those non-Adventist kids, you're exposing them to something different, and you have an opportunity to witness and minister to them. So I would love to have Adventist and non-Adventist kids on my team personally. But I wouldn't view it as a problem unless you're completely avoiding, our Adventist talent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a lot of people are just unsure whether that is in some way not fulfilling the mission of Seventh day Adventist athletics. Um, and for a lot of programs that recruit a lot of non Adventist kids and then they have a bad record, a lot of people are like, well, we could have had the same record with, giving our Adventist kids a chance.
Yeah, and that's where I think too level comes into play. I mean, is there any truth to, hey, if we're not going to be able to get all of the top Adventist talent at our school, are we able to compete at this level and also remain majority Adventist? I think that's a conversation that a lot of people have. And so, what is the right level of where you can compete and also um, further the mission?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's a lot of prestige with some of our Adventist colleges, wanting to be NAIA, stay NAIA. That for a while, a few were NCAA, maybe Division III. CUC, which is now currently Washington Adventist, was NCAA Division II at one point. So there's definitely prestige, but yeah, that's a good point. What is the best level for us to accomplish all of the goals that we have set? And I wonder if some of our programs are just kind of an autopilot, like, hey, this is the level we're at, and so it's easier to recruit players than to kind of reevaluate this. And of course, you want to compete against the uh, best competition at the highest level. So I don't, yeah, like if I was in those positions too, like I would want to stay at you want to play the highest competition. But anyway, I've just heard that kind of theme brought up by some people that kind of they just wonder. I don't think it's a strong, vocal majority, but it's definitely something that's come up for me. So,
Sure.
hey man, I have asked all the questions that I had in my mind. Is there anything that you wanted to be able to share with the Adventist Hoops community? Um, any thoughts that you've had about Adventist basketball? This is your chance. Go for
Sure.
it.
Well, number one, I appreciate what you're doing. I think the platform is something that's going to continue to grow. And I think Adventist basketball is something that hasn't been highlighted enough. So I'm glad that you got this started. Glad I could be a part of it. And then the other thing I'd say is just, you kids out there that are considering colleges, we'd love to be on your list. Adventist, non-Adventist, whoever, if you're interested in a quality program where you can get a good education and also compete at an intercollegiate level, we'd love to hear from you. So please reach out. We're
What's your
looking
email?
at our program. Yeah, my email is my last name, Wooldridge, WOOLDRIDGE at swau.edu. So Wooldridge at swau.edu. Please reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, and I'm hoping that at some point here I can make it out to the Hoops Classic and be able to experience that for myself. And maybe it'll be this next season, hopefully.
I thought we were locked in. That's what I'm hearing. You're coming for January.
I would love to. I would love to if we can make it happen. So. All right, Tyler. Well, hey, really appreciate you and appreciate everything that you do to represent Adventist basketball. And thank you again for your time being on the Adventist Hoops podcast.
Thanks for having me.